Well, guys, good evening. Welcome to our session, our second week. Okay, bueno, tuvimos 2 sesiones la semana pasada. La sugerencia es siempre, ojalá estén empezando a trabajar en lo que es el aula virtual. Tenemos, bueno, ya pasó el primer fin de semana, por decirlo así, y el siguiente como esa pequeña ventanita para ponernos al día, como siempre será una sugerencia, pero pues esperar para que no lo dejemos para última hora, básicamente. And that was like the administrative information. Today, the idea is going to have a mini review about Unit 1. In Unit 1, we were talking about some grammatical components, the review of the review, because we were talking about tenses, we were talking about auxiliaries. There was a mini homework. I hope that most of you had the opportunity or the time to do it. It was a word wall. We're going to check it in a moment. And then the idea is to review our memory. Once again, talking about those tenses. This B1.4 in terms of language actually is very grammatical. It is not bad. But it requires us like to be very precise with all that grammatical information that we have, okay? So before we check the homework, I'm gonna take attendance like right now, so we can have a look at how it went, and of course, to begin our review of Unit 1 that we have for tonight. There aren't many, but it's time to take attendance. Then get the chart. Today is the 8th. Karen Victoria Acevedo. Not here yet. Steven Santiago Fonseca.
Your teacher.
Okay. Kiara Lizeth Martínez.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Jorge Jair Moreno.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Natalia Navarro.
Present.
Okay. Diego Fernando Olarte.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Manuela Ortiz.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Joan Sebastián Paón. Not here yet. Beatriz Pedraza.
Teacher.
Okay. Xiomara Rincón.
Present.
Okay. Jessica Paola Ríos.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Caterina Alexandra Rodríguez. Not here for the moment. Marlon Yesid Sánchez. Not here yet. Mendy Fabián Santa. Not here for the moment. Manuel Alberto Sepúlveda.
Present, teacher.
Okay. María Alejandra Vega. Not here for the moment. Vanessa Zambrano.
Present, teacher.
Okay, there you are, guys. Well, anyway, your classmates still have a few minutes left. Let me have a look at my screen. Yes, guys, the idea for tonight is to review our Unit 1. As I was telling you, well, as you remember, Unit 1 was in terms of the grammatical components, like a summary of all the different grammatical tenses that we have studied so far. But before we have a look at that part, we had a mini homework. I hope that you remembered. On Friday, on the first part of our session, the idea was to talk about auxiliary verbs. And this is going to be one of the things that we're going to review tonight. So the good thing, I dare to say, is that we have a connection between the homework that we had with the topic that we're going to review tonight. Let's see the results. 11 of you did it. Okay. First of all, let's have a look at the podium, and then we're going to have a look at the answers. Let's wait for it until it loads. Okay. So the podium goes to Catherine, Diego, and Manu. Well, I don't know if Manu is Manuela or Manuel. Well, let's see. I think it is Manuela. That would be. We have Manuel, Maria, and Manuela as well. Very good. Okay, let's have a look at the answer key. So probably we can like clarify in case that you had any question or the different uses that were assigned to each statement. Remember that when we were talking about auxiliaries, well, we're going to study that. Well, we're going to review that in a moment. We were talking about different uses, especially talking about tag questions. Give me a second. Karen is waiting, okay. In some cases, we were talking about not to repeat, like to avoid repetition, like the case of would or the case of didn't in here. There you go. We had the rhetorical questions. These were the sentences. I would like to know, guys, if you have any question from when you did the assignment, of course. Let me see the chat. Okay, Karen Victoria. Yes, I have to adjust the attendance. I guess Karen and Maria, if I'm not mistaken. Marlon as well. You will let me know. Okay, Marlon, thank you. Look at the sentences, analyze them. Okay. I was having a look at the attendance. All right, guys, questions, tell me. Okay. Well, just in case, or maybe you don't remember, probably you did this like 2 days ago, the same Friday or even on Saturday. As I was telling you, the idea of tonight is to refresh our memory a little bit on some of those grammatical components that we were studying the previous week. I'm going to change the presentation so we can move to our unit 1. Very good. So one of the aspects that we were studying on unit 1 was the different tenses that we had. Of course, we were focusing on probably the main aspects. In this case, we were talking about past and present tense, right? That was like the main idea or what we were focusing our attention the most. In our case, we were talking about simple, progressive, and perfect. We were talking about past simple. We were talking about also present simple, of course. We were talking about the way they go in progression in both cases, using the verb to be. In this case, using was, you know that, of course, so we're talking about the plural, we use were. And then we have am, are, or is when we're talking about present. And we were talking about the perfect tenses. Then we were also pointing out the importance of the auxiliary. We use have for present perfect, also has, of course. And then we were using had for past tenses. Those were like the most general aspects in terms of tenses. We were also reviewing other important characteristics that we could use to talk about past, for example. And I'm trying to change the slide. We were also talking about another way to talk about the past that is used to. Probably you remember this from the previous cycle. We also have would for the moment we were focusing on used to. And we said that, okay, we can use it to talk about past, but the general idea when we use it is because it is an action that is no longer true, okay? Somehow the action was repeated, and the idea is that our present is different. That was what we reviewed. For example, she used to be a long distance runner when she was younger. Thanks to this structure, now we know that in present, this situation doesn't happen anymore. Of course, we can use it in negative form. The auxiliary would be didn't, because at the end of the day, we're talking about past. And of course, we can use it in questions, the case of the auxiliary did. And you already know that when we have the auxiliaries, could be negative or questions, we don't have to make any transformation to the verb. Another aspect that we reviewed last week was talking about stative verbs. And we said that being really strict, you know, in the use of the language, we cannot use these verbs in continuous forms. It could be if we're talking about emotions, opinions, senses, and possession. Ideally, we don't use it in that form. Of course, in English, we always require context, right? And there are some cases that we can actually use them because in that moment, they are not being a stative verb, they are being action verbs. Remember, we need to recognize the context. In here, there is like a very few list, you know, of verbs. And here we can see like the examples where it is being used as a state. So it has to be in simple form. And in the second example is being used as an action. That is why it is possible to find it also in continuous form. Once again, we need the context, like to know in which case it is a state and in which case it is continuous. So basically that was the idea on our first class, you know, we were talking about the different types of tenses. What we're going to do tonight basically is to refresh our memory one more time. This is the first exercise that we're going to do. I'm going to read the instruction for you. It says, la barrita esta. Choose the correct verb form. The idea, guys, is that you're going to have a look at the statements. You're going to read all of them, not only like the part that has the verb, in order to decide which is the best form, okay? Of course, we need, in some cases, we need context to decide or to determine which is the proper form to complete the verbs, the statement, sorry. So I want to do number one as an example. It says, when I was younger, we have three possibilities. Have played, play, or used to play football on the beach with my friends. So guys, if I say when I was younger, this is present or this is past?
Past.
It is past, right? So now, from the three possibilities that we have in here, which of them is actually related to a verb in past tense?
Used to play.
Used to play.
Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. Play is simple tense in present, and have played is present perfect, but anyway present. So in this case would be used to play. So guys, notice that we need to read like the whole statements in order to know, in order to recognize which are the, or which is actually the correct form, okay? In all of them, notice that we have three possibilities. Only one is correct. So you can have a look also at the material that we use in our first class that also has information about verbs. You don't really like need these slides in particular, the ones that we used on Thursday, sorry, actually work. So well, we already did number one. Let's say that we already had the example. I'm gonna give you 8 minutes to have a look at the other sentences, and then we're going to check. Remember, guys, that tonight we're going to review. We're going to refresh our memory from the grammatical topics that we studied on our unit 1. So basically, choose the verb. Guys, do you have any questions? Questions?
No, teacher.
Thank you, Manal. Well, guys, 8 minutes is starting now. Okay, guys, thumbs up. I'm pretty sure that some of you probably are still analyzing your statements. We're going to move now to the collaborative part. I want to send you to breakout rooms. So the first 8 minutes were for you to work individually to decide which the best answer was. Now you're going to work collaboratively. The idea now, guys, is that you are going to compare your answers with your classmates, okay? Of course, it's gonna be kind of fast. Once again, you will have only 8 minutes. The intention is to compare, you know, in case that probably there is a different answer, let's try to have a look how you can manage like to convince each other. So all of you have, well, at the end, it's not an obligation to have the same answer, of course, but like hopefully you can agree on the answer. In case that you disagree, well, you disagree. That's life. It is not, once again, it is not an obligation for you to agree. So once again, it's going to be a really fast exercise. The idea is for you to compare. And if you haven't finished, hopefully you can finish in these 8 minutes that you're going to have. I'm going to make sure that you can share, Yalois. Do you have any questions about the instructions?
No, teacher.
Great. Okay, let's go to the rooms. Well, guys, welcome back. Let's wait for your classmates. A few seconds. Okay, very good. Well, basically, the idea was to compare. Yeah, there was a microphone. Thank you. Your answers probably to analyze, probably not like to analyze the whole information. And even in those cases, we see things that probably at the beginning we couldn't see. And probably those insights from our classmates help us to choose the best answer in this case. We had already done number 1. I don't know why, but in this account, it doesn't let me like edit it, but it is okay. I will show you the answer key in a moment. Let's have a look at statement, sorry, number 2. Vanessa, could you read it, please?
In his 20s, Michelle
Michael.
had
No, it's
lived,
Michael. It's Michael, Vanessa. No,
Michael.
no, Michelle, Michael.
Okay. Michael has lived in the US for a year.
Well, the thing is that in his 20s looks more like when the person was 20 years old, you know? And it's also telling us the amount of time. That it says that it's a year. So let's
Also tenía live.
lift.
Okay.
That will be that one. Yeah, well, probably you may be thinking, the thing is that we will need a lot of context, like to know that the person is still in his 20s currently, in order to decide that, as we know about present perfect, that it started in the past, but continues in present. But when we have this like time frame that says for a year, that means that the action was like finished. So that could be a little bit tricky. But okay. Thank you. Just sorry, Vanessa. From group number 2, I would like to ask Manuel, statement number 3.
This week, Kate is looking after the shop for the owner.
Very good. This week is telling us like the time frame is really reduced, like it is a temporary action. That is why in this case, that's the best choice. Thank you, Manuel. And group number 3, of course. Number 2, sorry. Statement number 4 goes for group number 3. Diego, could you read it, please?
Yes, teacher. Unfortunately, the concert has started when we got there, so we missed it the first time.
Very good. And actually, it's the final part, the one that is giving us the idea. It is the context. It's like telling us that the event had already happened. Well, a part of the event. That is why it had started is the best choice. Very good. Let's have a look at number 5. Beatriz, please, could you read it?
Teacher, I was reading when I saw interesting job advertisement.
That would be it. In this case, well, more than the continuous form, it is like the combination of the statements. Probably you remember in previous cycles, even from A2, when we were talking about the narrative tenses, that we need the simple tense and the continuous form to provide context. We already had the simple form. Let's say that the simple form is the main event, you know, when I saw when I saw an interesting job advertisement, and then we need the context, you know, or the background that is required to be in progressive form. Very good, Beatriz, and of course, group number 4. Let's have a look at the statement number 6. Kiara, could you read it, please? Sorry.
I saw Neil yesterday.
Neil, very good. Yesterday is completely past. Nothing else like to analyze. Very good, group 5. Let's have a look. Let's go back to group number 1. Could you read the statement 7? Jessica, please.
Yes. Can I call you back later? We're having lunch right now.
Lunch, very good. Once again, right now is talking about the situation happening in this precise moment. So the continuous form is the winner. Let's put it like that. From group number 2, Manuela, could you read the statement 8, please?
Yes, teacher. We have, was it raining when you last looked outside?
Looked. Excellent, very good. It was pretty similar to statement 5, the contrast between the main event and the context, like the background of the action. Perfect. And number 9, Karen Victoria, could you read it, please?
Number 9.
Teacher,
Yes.
number 9 is this umbrella belong to you?
The thing is that give me a second. Sorry, I was kind of coughing. Is and belong can't really go together. Belong is a kind of a special verb, you know, it is part of the group of states. And if we are using verb to be, remember that verb to be in some cases works alone, or in some cases works as an auxiliary if the action is in progression, but belong can't go in progression. So it is a tricky thing. Let me ask Jorge for some help. What do you have in number 9?
Does this umbrella belong to you?
Very good. Let me see the raised hands. Mandy, you raise your hand. Tell me.
No, the teacher, the same of for.
Very good. So belong is part of one of those verbs that are stative verbs, which means that they can't go, you know, in progression. That is why we couldn't use the ing form. I just want to like to show you that. Of course, you know that you will have access to this. My throat, give me a second. This is more like expanding the information that we started studying on Thursday. Let me show you the answer key. I think I put it, yes, there it is. For you to have a look at the statements in case that you had, I don't know, any problem with connection, any statement that maybe you would like to ask or you didn't listen to. Some conjugations are, I'm not gonna say simple, but they are easier to identify. Like the case when we said yesterday, it's immediately something in the past, right? Or when we have a right now, it immediately shows us that is a progressive form in present because, well, it is right now. There are other cases that we need extra information and we need context. We need probably a time expression. We need a time frame. You know, that past simple and present perfect go together because it is the connection between the past and present. So in this type of grammatical exercises, that you know, guys, that we find them all the time, especially on exams, we need to analyze the whole thing, all the information that we have. Once again, in some cases, it's like very easy to identify. In other cases, like we have to analyze and repeat, and maybe we choose and we say, pero esa suena como fea, no, maybe in past sounds better. And that's how we discover it. And it's a process, you know, usually it can be a little bit tricky. Well, that was the first part, talking about the tenses in terms of grammar, which was the connection to the mini homework that we had for today, was talking about the auxiliary verbs. My idea was not like to repeat once again all about the auxiliaries. That is why I prefer to find like images for today. And this image actually summarizes everything related to the auxiliaries, talking about the most important uses that it has. But anyway, of course, we're going to analyze it a little bit. Remember that one of the most common uses is the short answers when we have yes, no questions, right? the question begins with the auxiliary, we can say, yes, I do, or no, I don't. That's it. If it is past, yes, I did, no, I didn't. Present perfect, yes, I have, no, I haven't. So that is probably one of the most common uses that we have for the auxiliaries. In some cases, we have the echo questions. Echo, well, we already know what echo is about. We need to keep in mind the original tense of the idea. Notice this sentence. It says, they went on a cruise in the Mediterranean last summer. The original sentence is in past simple. Then the echo should respect the original tense. Did they? Once again, as we already know, auxiliaries don't have a direct translation into our first language, into Spanish. So let's say that the most similar version to this idea would be like a way to say, really? That is basically the intention of an echo question, to show surprise about something. Remember, the idea of echoing is because we keep in mind the original tense. If the sentence was in present simple, then the auxiliary would be do they, right? If the sentence was in present perfect, then the echo question would be have they. So if you wonder, or if you were wondering, probably not anymore, what this echo was about, is related to the original tense. So one person says something and the other person is going to say, really? That is one way. Or maybe you can use an echo question. Another one is when we use question tags. It is a little bit different to the echo questions because in the echo question, we respect the tense and if it is affirmative or negative. As you already know, the question tag is if the sentence is affirmative, the question is negative. If the statement is negative, the question is affirmative. That is an aspect to keep in mind. What is the similar aspect that all have? We respect the tense. Notice that when we say Adam is Italian, isn't he? Verb to be in the original statement, verb to be in the tag question. Lorna and Nicholas went to school together, didn't they? Went is past simple, so the question tag, once again, is going to be in past. The only opposite thing is affirmative and negative, negative and affirmative. So it is very important not to confuse the echo questions and the question tags, okay? Guys, is the difference clear between both of them, the echo and the tags?
Yes, teacher.
There you go. Sorry, there you go. In the expressions to say me too, me neither, or so do I, neither am I, using these expressions, let's say that this is a more complex. Complex doesn't mean complicated in this context, of course, because you can say, I hate white chocolate, and you can say, me too. That's it. Or maybe you say, I don't like whatever, me neither. But in some cases, we can use the auxiliaries. If we say, so do I, it's similar to say, me too. Of course, respecting the original tense. In this case, was present simple, hate is present, and do is referring, sorry, to present. The other case that you know, to avoid repetition, so we don't have to say the same idea again. Notice, John doesn't speak Spanish, but his wife does. We don't have to say, but his wife speaks Spanish. Just with the auxiliary is pretty much clear. Respecting the tense, present simple, and of course, third person, and the emphasis. You know that the emphasis is just to say that sí that we have in Spanish. We were saying the other day that in Spanish, I want to say, yo sí hice la tarea. But in English, we don't have that sí form, like to make it strong with the intention that I have. So what I have to do is to use the auxiliary. In the case of verb to be, I only say that word like strongly. Well, strong, sorry. Like I am studying, yo sí estoy estudiando. But with the other tenses, we do and did and does and has, of course. That means that I'm emphasizing, like I want to say, yo sí, X cosa. The auxiliaries are present in English, you know? This is something that we can't deny. one of the first things that somehow clash with our minds because in Spanish we don't have it, but it is very important to recognize the moments when we use them. If you want to take a screenshot for the moment, it would be great. But anyway, you already have this information about auxiliary verbs because of course, we're going to do an exercise to refresh our memory about auxiliary verbs. This is what you have to do. It says write an auxiliary verb in the correct position in each sentence. Guys, in all the sentences, you have to put an auxiliary. It is only one word. I know that you know. But it is very important that you recognize, for example, if it is to emphasize, if it is an echo question, if it is a tag, and keeping in mind that, if it is a short answer, but well, probably this is the most common case, so for you is more natural compared to the others. Look at number 1. It says, the test wasn't as difficult as we expected, was it? In this case, what we have in here, we have to respect, you know, the original tense that was verb to be. Here we have the negative form. That means that in this case, the use is a tag question. So we have to put it in affirmative. Affirmative, pardon, negative and affirmative. That is what you have to do. Once again, guys, in all the sentences. Well, of course, making sure that you analyze the situation. I'm not gonna say that questions and answers. In this case, for example, Steve decided to look for a new job. Right? You don't have to make any transformation to that one. What we care about is the answer that is B. Also, did you see anything unusual in the park, Mr. Ball? Ya está bien. You don't need to make any transformation to that one. So, analyze the statements. Make sure that you find the place to put the auxiliaries. Remember that could be any of the possibilities. Once again, tag questions, you know, verb to be, to avoid repetition, short answers. I mean, those possibilities that we have. Okay. Guys, do you have any questions about the instructions? Questions? Okay, thank you. Guys, I'm gonna give you what number 1 was already done. Again, 8 minutes. I know that there are some aspects that you need to analyze, and then we're going to check. 8 minutes is starting now. Very good. Similar to the previous exercise, but with less time. I'm gonna send you to breakout rooms, different breakout rooms. The idea for you guys is to compare, once again, to share your ideas, probably to discover anything in particular. We come back because then we're going to do like the bigger exercise where we're going to put together, especially the part about the conjugation of the verbs. So the similar idea, you know, guys, to compare. In this case, I'm gonna give you 7 minutes to do that. Guys, do you have any questions about instructions?
No, teacher.
Thank you, Manuel. Let's go. Okay, I have to assign Karen Victoria. Welcome back. This is our second exercise out of 3. In this case, the idea was to find the proper place for the auxiliary verb based on what we have already discussed. Let's have a look at the statement number 2. Mandy, could you read it, please?
Okay, teacher. You don't like Marta very much, do you?
Very good. Another tag, negative here, affirmative there. Excellent. And of course, that also applies to group number 1. Let's have a look at the statement number 2. Sorry, Santiago, could you read it? Perdón. Number 3, could you read it, please?
Yes, teacher. Kate wasn't keen on sport before, but she is now.
Very good. Now it's telling us that it has to be something in present. Excellent. Let's have a look at number 4. The question was, Steven, let me see the chat. Okay, Beatriz. Oh, sorry.
Number 2 is you.
Number 2 is do you. It's a tag.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because it's like the same person speaking. So we had don't in the beginning. That means that the tag has to be affirmative. Number 3, she is now. Number 4. So, well, the question in number 4 didn't have like any transformation. Steve decided to look for a new job. Xiomara, what auxiliary did you put in the answer?
This teacher, B, the whole week.
Yes.
Has he? What made him want to leave?
Very good. In this case, we had the echo question. Present perfect from the first person, present perfect for the echo one. Very good. Number 5, again, the question didn't have a transformation. Did you see anything unusual in the park, Mr. Ball? Kiara, what is the answer? Oh, well, with the auxiliary, how would the answer be?
Yes, I did. There was a group of young men acting suspiciously.
Very good. The case of short answers. What about number 6? Sorry, Maria.
Sure.
Sorry?
Teacher, sorry. Number in level A, before Mr. Ball is not necessary.
No, Beatriz. Well, actually, your connection is bad, Beatriz, but I think that your question is if in number 5 there was anything to add, but nothing, because it's one same question. Notice that we have did here at the beginning of the question. It didn't require anything, only in the answer. That was, yes, I did. It could be auxiliary. That would be too repetitive. Who did I ask? Maria, right? Number 6?
Marina looks well, doesn't she?
Very good. Another tag in this case. And then we have number 7. The question, well, not the question, the first statement didn't have a transformation. We haven't been before. Vanessa, what would be the answer?
Teacher, have you that surprise?
Surprising. Vanessa, affirmative or negative, have or haven't?
Haven't.
Negative. Okay, very good, because it's an echo. Anyway, let's have a look at the answer key, especially for the ones that are having trouble with the connection. Remember, it was only one word. We had some cases, not all of them. In this case, in this exercise in particular, we didn't have for emphasis. We didn't have with the neither or the so. We were talking about some of the basic short answers, the echo, and the question tags. And there was one with avoided repetition, which was number 3. Yes. So look at the answers. Tell me if you have any question. Okay. Well, guys, that means that we're going to move to our, let's say, final exercise. You know that it doesn't really mean that we are going to finish right now. You know that these final exercises tend to be a little bit demanding. We didn't do this exercise on the first day. I knew because on the first day, we always take part of our session talking about the rules and regulations of the course. So that is why I decided to leave this exercise for the review. We are going to go to our final breakout rooms. Again, you are going to be organized in a different breakout room. I hope that it looks a little bit different from the ones that we were working a few minutes ago. And then you're going to go to your book, guys. Let me wait. Someone is waiting. On page 7, let me refresh your memory. Although we already finished, let's say technically we already finished. We're going to do this exercise that we have on page 7, okay? It is a kind of large exercise. The idea is that you're going to choose the correct verb conjugation for each situation. We're going to, let's say, focus a little bit on the first topic that we reviewed, talking about if it is or present or past or used to, stative verb, action verb. In total, in the exercise, there are 20 verbs to be conjugated, okay? So guys, you gotta be very careful, of course. The idea is that you check the information in order to decide which is the best form. You have the books already, so it is not a situation for you. Just let me check one thing. I'm creating the groups once again. There you go. Okay. Guys, you're going to have 17 minutes. I'm not gonna say 20 because you are working in groups of 3, even groups of 4. And I'm sure that doing that collaboratively is going to be a big help for you. When we get back, we're going to listen to the answers. And of course, we're going to check in case that we have any questions related to the conjugations. Remember, guys, page 7 on our book. That is where the exercise is located. Do you have any questions about the instructions?
Now question.
Thank you very much. Let's go. Final exercise of the night.
Hi, teacher.
Hi, Karen. I don't remember the group you were in. Do you remember?
Sorry, teacher. Esto es que yo acabo de llegar de la casa porque salí de clase y me
Sí.
conecté con el internet mío y me tuve que salir de clase.
Ok.
Entonces no.
Bueno, entonces se puede enviar a cualquiera.
Sí.
Listo. Voy a enviar a este que hay de 3. Lo voy a enviar a la sala 3. Well, guys, welcome back. We are going to have a look at the answers. We are going to compare. And well, of course, the idea is if you have any question or something to see how similar they are, how different they are, hopefully to make sure that everything is clear for you. So this is the answer key. Look at it, analyze it.
Number 9, teacher, is not similar.
Hmm. What do you have? The progressive? No.
Why no, teacher? Sorry, I confused.
Notice that we're talking about an infection, right? Not only the infection, but notice that we were talking about past perfect in number 8. And past perfect is the past of past simple.
It's not possible progressive because during their long, no?
No, the during doesn't really, let's say, force us to use a progressive tense. Had an operation on his hip and during their long walks, it got badly infected. Unless we had more information, but you know, it's more because of the past perfect, the had. It is forcing us to talk about something that is the past of past simple. But I mean, I don't even get the translation in the progressive form. So, Manuel, yes, you raise your hand. Tell me.
Yes, teacher, about the 18.
Okay.
Depends.
You know, because these days it's
yes.
like right now, nowadays, from the family of temporary, like that time frame that is telling us that it's only for the moment.
And the next one, why was changing instead changed? Because it was in the 90s.
Let's see. Refugee Council in the 1990s, watching the stereotype of how a model should look. Now she is changing the stereotype of how a model should behave. Well, based on the information that was presented in the article, that was what she, let's say, was in charge of doing in the past. But, you know, actually, in this case, changed. In this one, I think could work, but using change, that means that she could do it completely, you know, that she completely changed that in the past. She started the process of doing that. And noted that in present, it is something that she's doing it and not completely finished. We can't say that she has already changed how the models behave, right? She's in the process of making that something happen for models in present. And that is why I think that changed would be very radical to talk about it. She did it in the past and she made a complete change in the perception that models had. More like it was a process that she was having in the past and it's a process that she's still managing in present. I think it's more like on that perspective because models didn't change completely in the past, right? She was just doing her part to change that perspective.
Yes, teacher, but I think it's not completely like clear if we
Hmm.
see the text that we should use was changing. Maybe in that one could be also the other one changed.
In terms of grammar, it is not incorrect at all, you know. Probably more talking about the process. As I was telling you, we say changed, that means that then all the models in the past changed their perspective, and we know that they didn't. I think it could work, probably with more context, but it is not incorrect at the end of the day. I agree with you.
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, guys, in some cases it is very tricky. Notice when we are talking about progression, like we have to include more of our analysis. It is not that literal, like we have to infer a lot. In some cases, it could work. In other cases, keeping in mind that, remember, if it is a state and all those things, hopefully we can remember those things as much as possible. Well, guys, as I was telling you at the beginning of the session, you are going to notice that the grammatical components of this cycle in particular are really, I'm not going to say complicated, but they are very focused on the inner structure of the language. So in this first unit, talking about the different tenses, in a moment when you begin unit 2, now you're going to see that it is going to be related to how we create words in English, which is a kind of complex process, but as usual, if we have a lot of information and if we practice a lot, and well, as usual, we need a lot of context to know how that works. Guys, please do not forget to start working on the virtual campus. I don't know, guys, if you have any question? Questions? Well, guys, see you tomorrow. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Take care, everybody.